Welcome to High Tea with Derek and Rens, a podcast about cannabis culture. My name is Derek Bergman.
And my name is Rens Soppenbrouwers. This episode is sponsored by Dutch Passion, one of the world's oldest cannabis seed banks, offering a range of original classic strains as well as great new ones, available at dutchpassion.com.
For this episode, number 45, we traveled all the way to an undisclosed location somewhere in France, this beautiful, beautiful country, and to welcome a very special guest to the podcast, La Chanvriere, a very skilled grower and breeder, organic specialist, and all-round nice guy. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for having us here, Mr. Chanvriere.
Hello, guys. Thank you to be there. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Rens. And you're welcome to our farm. It's a pleasure to have you there.
Thank you so much, La Chanvriere. Our French isn't that great, so we will stick to English. And we will, of course, talk about growing and breeding cannabis and the strains you have created, like the Sunsets, winner of both the indoor and the outdoor indica category at last year's Homegrown Cup. Very nice cup. Not that I'm saying it, but we will talk about the cannabis scene and the policy in France and your journey with our favorite plant.
And as always, you can listen to our regular segments on the High Tea Podcast. What's in your joint today? Anything new? And covering the biggest cannabis news stories of the past 2 weeks. From the archive segment, our cannabis history segment, listeners' responses, and wise words at the end of the show.
Yeah, and Simon, our technical wizkid and producer, is not here, sadly. So I'm taking his place behind our podcast machine and will be pushing the buttons and moving the fader. So bear with me if I make any mistakes. So it's just because we miss our poor Simon.
This is High Tea with Derek and Rens, episode 45 with La Chanvriere.
Yes. So we're on a super nice location. I wish we're doing more of this kind of road trips.
Really?
I say, Derek, we should.
Yes, sure.
And
the last episode we took the podcast on tour to Amsterdam to have this great episode with our two California friends.
Yeah.
And now we traveled a bit further down into to the south. From the Netherlands to this great spot, this great farm that we've been staying on now for the whole weekend. And like you said before, it's you really show us the terroir around here.
It's what I wanted to show you. It's not just about weed, it's about all gardening, about the love for the nature, for our area, and for the people who live there.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, we're very pleased. And as we do, as always, we start with our first segment, What's in Our Joints Today?
Wat zit er in jouw joint vandaag?
So, you saw, we made some mistakes, but it doesn't matter. We go to the first segment. I say let's start with our guest, or maybe we're the guest, but La Chanvriere, what are you smoking today?
So today we are smoking Sunsets. It's like our flagship strain from the farm. Like Rens say to you, we won 2 cups last year at Homegrown Cup, Outdoor Cup and Indoor Cup, both with the same strain. It's a strain created by my friend in Barcelona, the Grateful Seeds. Some good friend of us, some talented breeder, like they won their strain, won most of the cup in Europe at the moment. And Sunset is our best selection from their strains. It's a cross from sunset sherbet, but not the cookie sherbet. It's like a cookie sunset sherbet from Northern California, bring into Barcelona by a local grower, crossed with pichos from Dying Bread Seed Company and selected by our friend at La Calada in Barcelona. It's an amazing Skittle strain.
Yeah.
What do you think about this strain, friends?
Well, I can. Besides that, it's a 1 hour cup for indica, indoor and outdoor. It's just a really, really lovely, skittly, tasty strain, and I think it's like, like we're sitting here last night, watching the sunset with the sunsets. And it's an amazing sweet candy strain, and it's a very uplifting
not
strain.
too high, just a good vibe.
Exactly, you can.
And a very smooth smoke too.
Yeah, you can
Because
do
we,
things.
of course, we couldn't pass up having such a nice quantity of the sunsets here right in front of us. So I did have some other weed that I could have picked for this segment, but for this podcast, I'm happily smoking on your sunsets.
Yeah,
It's
I'm happy
fantastic.
you enjoy it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
we will.
And thanks again to Grateful Seed for share the genetic with us.
Yes, I'm also gonna light it up because we all have this amazing strain in our joint.
Yes, I'm gonna roll up another one.
I think it's a unique thing. We are usually all have something else, but now we all be on the same height.
Yes,
That's great.
Same wave.
Same vibe here.
Same
Organic vibe.
Yes.
Time for some news, I would say.
Yes, I say let's go to the news. All right. That brings us to our new segment. Let's go to Barcelona. I think that's the most important news we have to discuss this episode. It's the biggest. I think it's the biggest story at this moment because there's increased pressure on the cannabis social clubs in Barcelona after a recent court verdict. Can you please tell us more about this, Derek?
Yeah, the story was broken by the Spanish news website El Diario on July 26th. And it basically, the news is that the Spanish Supreme Court has overruled local regulations under which the cannabis social clubs have been operating since 2016. Because that might be a bit strange to hear for our listeners. The city of Barcelona and also the government of Catalonia, of which of course is the region of Barcelona, they support the clubs. And they had made this regulation so that they had at least some way to work with the clubs, because they support the idea of the clubs. And now the national government has always been anti-cannabis clubs, and so they took it to court saying it's not they are not competent, the local government, to make this kind of a regulation because it concerns illegal drugs.
Spanish government just want Spanish can enter into the club, or foreigners, but who live in Spain, not tourists anymore for cannabis.
Yeah, it's almost the same like we see in Amsterdam,
Yeah.
of course, with the Mayor Halsema, who also wants to ban the tourists from the coffee shops, you know. So yeah, the Supreme Court has upheld this. Has really overruled the local authorities there. So all the cannabis social clubs that they know of, over 200, have received a letter informing them that because of this latest verdict, it's now forbidden to actually consume, promote, or sell, but even use.
No, not use. They are. I had my friend who owns a club and works in clubs all the weeks to have news about this situation. And at the moment, they are just allowed to be smokers club like shisha or cigar.
Okay.
Not tobacco or weed smoke inside the club are permitted. Some do. Mostly all clubs still do until the police come. But
so do you think that the police are like very motivated to go check on all these clubs? Because there's also been some reporting that if they do go after the club and check them, they will start with the biggest ones that a lot of tourists go to, and then maybe later do the other ones. But maybe if you look at it optimistically, they don't like the national government in Madrid too much, maybe, and don't want to work too hard to enforce the new rules.
Yes, but in the same time, the Spanish government want to put pressure in the Catalonian area, and it's a new way. The cannabis war. It's a new way to put some pressure, but mostly all clubs at the moment are scared about a big red. All people like cops in all club in the same times.
Okay, yeah. Do you think this could mean the end of the cannabis social club scene in Barcelona, or will it be a passing threat?
No. It will change for sure. It will be not the club as it's been last 2 or 3 years, but it can be back more underground like how it starts. Don't forget Barcelona start underground, and it maybe will be back a bit more underground.
Yeah, because of course the cannabis will not go away.
Yes, you have maybe commercial grower or money opportunity people who gonna move to not be under the pressure about the police.
Yeah.
But all the passionate people and grower of Barcelona were there before, and they will be there after.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think personally it's an incredible bad timing. Because to be very selfish also, like I was planning to organize a cannabis cup there, and I was hoping it for like years. My companion Mauro, he was always like taking it a little bit more carefully, and he was always like waiting with it for the good moment. And finally I had this go and then this happened. So it was just so unfortunately timing. But this is like nothing to do with anything. Like I have just some luxury problems, like the whole clubs, like the whole scene, and like the whole Spannabis feeling. Like, oh, let's go Spannabis, check some clubs, meeting people, smoking new things, and seeing what's going down with the industry at this moment.
It seems like it may never return like that.
No,
again.
I don't think so. I think like in every country, the way of be free to use marijuana is not easy. What happened in Barcelona is just a step. Maybe it was free during last 10 years, but it's just one difficulty. I think the community will go through easily.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
They will survive.
Yeah. It's not easy, we all know. We all have a long, difficult story in our back with marijuana and police.
Yep. If you want to grow weed,
Yeah.
you got to be strong.
Yeah, we have to deal with this kind
And
of...
have patience also.
Yeah.
So you still have hope?
Yes, sure. Mostly all clubs are still open. Like all main clubs don't want to have new members until September, until they have more news. But the tourist clubs still have new members
coming in, yeah.
Some clubs opens, some big clubs opens in the city last weeks, like Green Place in the middle of the city.
Oh, yeah.
Like a big club with window, one of the first with
Really?
window on the street and open.
And Green Place, of course, from the Amsterdam coffee shop.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you have a big one, I think it's Exotic BCN, a bit in the suburb. Also big club or just opening. They will not close tomorrow. And I have big hope, like for the community of Barcelona. I had good news, like many clubs are putting effort together, and one political party just born in Barcelona, they call it La Luz Verde, the green light. So I have big hope, and I support 100% this local political party.
All
Yeah, because there was this statement put out by the CatVak, which is like the Federation of Catalan cannabis clubs or associations, as they are called in Spanish. And they said, once again, the judiciary are attacking associations without taking into account the reality of Barcelona, a city that has coexisted with these entities for more than 30 years. The Barcelona associations are a pioneering model in Europe, exported internationally, the application of new drug policies that focus on the individual and their health, which is, of course, very, very true.
Yeah.
And this was an inspiration for Belgium, but for many other countries where they at least have this model and know that it can work, you know?
Mostly, I know a lot of people in Barcelona. Most all the people I know are growers from a really difficult country like Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, England, who come to live their life in Barcelona. I think it will not die for police with a police raid.
Yeah, like I think the system is super nice. To be honest, like mostly some social clubs are mostly sometimes based on tourists. That could be possible, but like the fact that you can pass one of the busiest social clubs in Barcelona without seeing it, smelling it, or noticing.
Very different from the Netherlands, of course, from Amsterdam.
Yeah, I can really say
a lot
like
more discreet.
They really found a model that would be livable for everyone in the neighborhood, especially for the smokers, but also for the neighbors. That has nothing to do with the stoners.
No, and there you can see if the European Union had, for instance, and of course they have been advised to do so by activists and by all kinds of organizations. The cannabis social club model would fit better for European countries that have nothing now, have total prohibition,
yes,
than say the Dutch model, the coffee shop model, which is a commercial model from the
in
start.
Your face.
And very much, non-discreet and right in your face, which also has its advantages, of course, and good points. But if you want to make the switch from total prohibition to some regulation, the clubs would be, I think, a very good way to do it. And had that happened, then it would have been harder for Spain and the Spanish national government, I think, to try to roll it back now, because they are clearly trying to do that. And
I think the Spanish government don't want to kill the social club. They want to make social club everywhere the same in Spain. Like you have two kind of situation in Spain. You have Barcelona and the Canarian Island, who are really okay with social club because they have their own local law, like Catalan people, and Spanish people want it to be the same, like in Sevilla or in Madrid, or in like social club only for the people who live in Spain.
Yeah, they need a NIE number, right? Normally, you would need a NIE number, like your personal number.
Yes, you need to prove that you live, like in most of the city, in the coffee shop in Netherlands. You must prove.
No, not most of it. It's really a small number.
Only like a few.
Only about 10% in the south where you still have to do it. Maastricht is the most notable city where you still have to do it. But my own town, for instance, Eindhoven, they had it for a long time that you had to prove that you lived in the Netherlands or be Dutch citizen. And now they don't do it anymore because it's just too good for the dealers outside. They make so much money on the street if a local government does this. So you can see that even some conservative smaller cities in the south, like Vlissingen now even starting, that they don't enforce it anymore. It's typical Dutch. It's in the national law, but it's also an understanding that if the local government does not want to enforce it, because enforcing it will give more problems than not enforcing it, they are allowed to do it. It's the Dutch way.
Dutch way.
But it also means, like we see now in Amsterdam, that if they do want to enforce it, then they can do that too, And that's what they try to do now in Amsterdam. But this is it's interesting and a bit worrying that you can really say that now both the Barcelona clubs and the Amsterdam coffee shops are really under attack. And with national governments trying to make it nationals only.
I think it's a European problem.
Of course, yeah. So it's really strange where the politicians try to promote Europeanness,
I think there is a big
cooperation. Here with the cannabis, they do not at all.
I think pharmaceutical company make a lot of lobbying into the European politician, because they are trying to apply the same law about THC and promoting more the CBD. Like we see in France now, you have some CBD for weed to sell at the tobacco shop, in the CBD shop, in the supermarket.
It's amazing,
you have
eh?
CBD weed everywhere. And almost on French TV, every night you see a commercial program about the farm of CBD, about bien-être
But
farm.
that must be like a good development, I'd say, because it's normalizing and decriminalizing
I
the
don't think
plants.
so.
No?
I'm most scared about.
Because you think they will try to have the monopoly, only the big companies, and then
Yes,
the pharmaceutical ones.
Yes, and we used to be in Switzerland from the last 20 years, like in 2000, in Switzerland, around 2000 in Switzerland, they tried a program about to leave people free with cannabis. So during 3-4 years, between 2000 and 2004, many French growers moved to Switzerland.
Yep.
And after,
From all over Europe, I think.
Yes.
It was a good opportunity.
Yes, they stopped it directly after 4 years, after they had really prohibited law. And like 10 years ago, they started to the CBD and no THC weed. And many people saw a new opportunity on it. And we all saw how it is now only big pharma company have enough money to have enough big growing room or to have a place in the market. And only this kind of people will be allowed to grow THC or CBD in the close future.
You think so?
That's
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm more scared about the pharma than the government. Really.
Interesting.
Yeah, government, we know it's we all deal with the government half prohibited law from but the pharma, they push more, I think.
A lot of money involved, that's for sure. Yeah.
maybe we can maybe talk further about that later on.
Yes.
Let's move on to the next news segment. Or segment, how you say, the news article. It's about our friend Robin. He is a guy who is evicted from his house for growing one cannabis plant in a nearby forest.
Yeah, not even in his own home.
Yeah, he was drying it at his own house, and then he got busted. There was a few. Do you have anything new news on it?
Yeah, I can say that the VOC, our organization, has been quite instrumental in generating publicity for his case. I actually went to where the guy is now living on a camping because he was evicted from his house. He's suffering from autism. The house that he was living in, he had got it on a medical indication because they recognize his autism for that. And still he was evicted for this one plant that he grew it outside, like guerrilla style, and only was drying it in his own house less than 24 hours when police showed up. They were tipped by the neighbors. He's quite sure about it because he had some new neighbors moving in that week. And they were ruthless about it. The mayor is from the Christian Party, and they are very hardline, zero tolerance on growing any kind of weed. And on top of that, you get the housing organization, the social housing. They are super strict too. This has all the laws have been tightened around it. If you have any kind of social housing and you sign your contract for it,
Yes.
you immediately sign that if you grow not just one plant or whatever amount, you will be evicted from your house.
Prohibited.
Yeah, it's really, really terrible. And I think because this guy, this is, of course, it doesn't happen every day. Just one plant, this is such a stupid case. That it was picked up by national media and TV, and also 2 members of parliament asked questions to the minister about it. And the news is that the minister has answered these questions. Not too much news about it because, as usual, the minister will say, I cannot go into details of individual cases. But he did say, and I think that's interesting, that there is not, it is not known how many people in the Netherlands are evicted every year for growing weed on this law that's called Damocles law. And that, I think, is quite worrying, you know.
Yes.
How is it possible that they have this ruthless policy evicting? That, I think it's quite a punishment to throw
you can
somebody
leave.
out of his house. And then they have no clue whether that may be 1,000 people or 2,000 or maybe 10,000. They just don't know.
But they got like triple punished, right? Like you get kicked out of your house, you get maybe like a fine or a penalty,
Yeah.
and you can also not rent a house for the upcoming years because you're banned
You're on a blacklist
on a
for
blacklist.
social housing. Yeah.
What a sad story again, just for one plant.
Yeah. It's like it looks like we're almost there, but at this stories you hear like we're still in the middle age with kind of repressions and mentality about like the cannabis plant and also in the Netherlands.
Well, you have, of course, Karl Marx, his famous theory called Verelendung, where he says that in order for things to change, they have to get very, very, very bad first, and then the change will come. And I was in a way, from something bad, something good can come.
After the storm, the sun will come, but I wait for the sun for 20 years now.
Even longer in the Netherlands, over 40 years.
You are older than me, you wait for the sun. It's still the storm.
No, but it can mean a case like this, because every normal guy or woman in the Netherlands will say, this is outrageous. This is not normal for one plant, you know?
How you can
and the outrage can lead to change. Now that the publicity was there, usually that it's very hard to get publicity. I know, being chairman of VOC for a long time now, the journalists, they want to write about nice, juicy, sensational criminal stories, you know, and about violence and about rip deals and about murder attempts, all these kind of liquidations. They sometimes approach me and they ask, can you help us go film in a really criminal grow facility? And then I have to explain to them, any grow facility except for those ones by Bedrocan, you know, the medical cannabis producer, they are all illegal. 1 plant, 20 plants, 10,000 plants, they're all illegal, and they have no clue. So they are very much, they are not interested in normal people being the victim of harsh policies like this. And Robin is the exception, because he's also a very, very smart guy, very friendly, you know. You can see in 2 seconds that this is no criminal and that he's the victim here.
Yeah.
So let's hope that this sad case can lead to some good in the end.
Let's hope for that. Let's go on to some better news, because even though the corona hits a lot of companies, countries and companies and events, there's still some events going on. Derek.
The Hanfparade is actually this weekend, as we are traveling here in France. Maybe otherwise we would have gone to the Hanfparade. It was the 25th edition. I think it's the oldest and longest running march in Europe for legalization, always in Berlin. And the theme this year, the slogan was 50 Jahre Verboten, Zeit für Emanzipation, which translates as 50 years of prohibition, a time for emancipation. Yeah, it's a great march. I have to admit that I never ever made it there, because I'm usually somewhere on a holiday when they have the weekend. Usually draws about 10,000 people, and my good friend Has from Legalize Foundation in Amsterdam, he has been there most of the time and also traveled this year. I saw it on the Twitter feed of Legalize, and he has driven down there with the sound system to have at least some Dutch people present at the 25th Hanfparade. And then I saw also in the new edition of High Life magazine in the Netherlands that the Mary Jane Cannabis Expo, which I know is a very nice event, you know, very chilled down, you can smoke, really good vibe. They are planning to go forth this year, so not like the Cannabis event that has been postponed again to next year. They have the date set now 22 to 24 October of this year in the Arena in Berlin, the Mary Jane Expo. So that's a good sign, and let's hope that they do not have to at the last minute cancel it anyway or postpone it again, because it's been a long time since we've been able to go to any event.
Yeah, that's sad but true. The last time we were thinking we were going to an event was Cannabis 2020 in March, but it was also cancelled. So
18 months ago.
2019 was the last Cannabis event, but of course we had the Homegrown Cup, what was still going on even in 2020. Hell yeah.
Yes, we wait for.
And I'm sure we're gonna do it again. Yeah, we're not gonna do it in Barcelona, but I'm gonna promise you all we're gonna do one in December.
For sure. We are already going for it.
Indeed.
Yes.
If
Go start.
If my plans keep going well, unlike this terrible weather that we've been having, if I have a good result, I will enter this year. I think.
We hope so.
Yeah, well, I just really hope like people can still travel. I hope the people from England can travel, because I always I'm glad like that you, Chanvriere, you took the effort and the risk to come to the Netherlands. But it's super hard for a lot of people to come to the Netherlands at the moment.
Yes, but for French, we always been close for with Netherlands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we love to take this road. It's always a pleasure to go up there.
And the other way around too, you know.
Yeah.
The France is still number one holiday country for any Dutch people.
Yeah. So I think that also it brings us to also a last news article, because you had something.
Yeah, I
you
saw
wanted
this
to
really
mention the people or the listeners.
Yeah, really interesting article on reason.com by a guy called Jacob Sullum, who I've been following a long time, a cannabis drug policy journalist. And he put out this article and it reads 6 marijuana legalization lessons, with the undertitle, What Have Policymakers Learned Since Colorado Became the First State to Allow Recreational Use in 2012. I won't go into too much of the details. We'll post the link and the extra information.
We will try not to forget this time.
This episode. We will do it. But I will just quickly do the 6, because I think you made some good points. The first one is expungement, meaning that your criminal record will be wiped clean in order to, as Jacob puts it, remove the taint of criminality from people who were convicted of marijuana-related conduct that is no longer illegal. Marijuana-related conduct. That's an interesting term. The second one is stone driving. THC blood levels are not a reliable measure of intoxication, so there needs to be additional evidence of impairment, which is, as you also know, Rens, for the Netherlands, it's a very pressing issue. A lot of people losing their driver license, even 24 hours after they smoked their last joint, because you can still see it in the blood. And this is
even in the
saliva.
In France, half of the stoner, than half of the stoner don't have license anymore.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And what's the big problem after 5 or 10 years of hard repression with driving license? Many of my friends have this problem that they be catch one time after 2 times, and if they are catch a third time is jail. So what they did, they don't pass again the driving license.
Yeah.
Because it's jail in the 2 cases. So many people drive without license in France now.
Amazing.
Because the
Or
punishment...
don't drive like us.
Yeah.
We are too scary to lose our driving license.
Yeah. Yeah, so this issue, I think, with any legalization or regulation, you have to, address this issue and make better policy so that it's more fair. The third lesson that he uses is interesting for Dutch people, for any people. Cannabis cafes. Simply put, allow coffee shop-style places where adults can consume cannabis safely and responsibly. Yeah, as we already know.
Totally agree.
For over 40 years.
Like we also talked about our last episode.
Yeah, it's what they miss.
It's the biggest thing.
In the legal states.
They are so looking such jealous to us. Well, we look so jealous to them.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's funny.
And then lesson number 4 is home delivery. And as long as local governments can ban dispensaries from a city, home delivery is crucial for consumers to have access to legal cannabis. which I think is a very valid point, and it's still super illegal in the Netherlands. Of course, you can, you can have all kinds of stuff delivered, but it's not legal. And why not? If we have the good infrastructure and the good coffee shops and the branding, it's normal that they can deliver it to your home, I'd say. The fifth lesson is home cultivation. Most American states that have legalized cannabis let recreational consumers grow cannabis at home and share it with friends. For the VOC, obviously,
it's what I will promote the most.
This has been central.
The first thing is to let people, medicinal or recreational, to let grow his plant. Just that.
It starts there.
Yeah, it starts there. It's just a plant. After business is another thing. But to prohibit a plant, just because people can make money about it, it's tricky.
Yep, it's very bad. And the sixth lesson that Sullum explains is taxes. He explains it very clear, I think, in the article. Heavy taxes make it harder for licensed retailers to compete with black market dealers. And it seems that politicians, they forget this lesson all the time, where they think, we make it legal and put like 60% tax on it. Yeah, then that's no way that you you're gonna fight the black market.
Like what happened in Barcelona at the moment, to don't let all the people get a license will end to business about license and making the price up about the weed, about the club, about everything around. If they let all people get a license, like they get people get a license for an alcohol bar or something like that, it will be really more clear for every people.
Yep.
Like it's like the golden eggs chicken for the one who have the license in Holland or in Spain. If you have the license,
you're king.
Yeah, you're a king.
Yeah, yeah, and it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to go. We're going further in the details with La Chanvriere, because I've met him through the Homegrown Cup, and since then we've seen each other more and more, and it's not that because we got friends. He won the Homegrown Cup because
we share passion.
Because we are not attached to the scoreboard. Or I said we have not any effects.
You are not on the jury.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not involved with anything, but I was happy that I could give the prizes to him because I know what kind of effort he takes in to make it all happen. And before we get into that, those things, we would like to start at the very beginning.
Yes.
And we would like a question we always ask, like, how did you raise up, and how was your youth? And can you tell me a little bit about the very beginning of La Chanvriere?
Yes. So we start to grow when I was 18, and I be free to have my own garden or to grow in guerrilla. I start to grow and not stop until and been on the forum for about last 20 years. And 10 years ago, we started to make seeds for our grower. With the rise up of the price of the seed, of the female seed, now you have to spend €100 minimum for 10 seeds, and for most of the French people who just homegrown their own weed, they don't spend €100. We don't spend €100 on vegetable seed.
Mm-hmm.
We will not spend so much euro for a wheat seed. So I start to make a lot of seed to share with people, and all people was happy with my seed. And
before we get into making seeds and all those things, like, how was the first time you get into touch with cannabis?
With this plant,
yeah.
It's a long time
we
ago.
have the time.
Yeah,
so
I start.
we're sitting on a nice location.
Yeah, I was at school at the suburb of my city when I was 14, and like all French guy were at 14, 15, we smoke hash and don't stop since. And one time when I was 16, I smoked some weed from Switzerland.
Okay.
And so I got a lot of interest into the weed and started to grow my weed with a seed we find in the buds. And started to have interest about cannabis culture. So we start traveling in Holland. We start to go more and more in Switzerland, working in Switzerland, smuggling some weed from Switzerland to France. After doing it from Holland to France, and after we start to grow our French weed.
Because I would say that within Europe, France is really one of the strictest countries, like officially, if you look just at the laws anti-cannabis. Do you have the idea that that also means it's a huge country, of course?
Yes.
I know it quite well. I've been traveling a lot in France. It's huge. The regions, it could be 6 different countries, so to speak. Do you have the idea that the repression also is there in normal people's everyday lives, or that it's mostly, the law is very strict, but the reality every day is different?
It's hard to say. We all have big case there. If you are a grower, you have a case. You already have problem with the police for sure.
Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
The repression is everywhere.
If you grow one time, you will not have problem. But if you are a grower, if you decide to be a wheat farmer, you pass by the jail in France. It's no. It's like that. It's the way.
Uh-huh.
You cannot go through. It's the repression of all day we don't have, but every new politician want to bring his new wave of prohibition, fight against with the farmer.
Do you think it has anything to do with like the big, say, alcohol culture? Mostly wine, but also beer culture here? Or
Yes, I
is there
don't
not...
know why, but they think the alcohol lobbying, like, in France, the representation of a French guy, he always have a bottle of red wine, he don't smoke joint.
True.
And it's... they start to the prohibition. When USA stop the prohibition about cannabis, French alcohol start a really big program of cannabis prohibition in France through many new law about cannabis. And they see us as concurrents. Competition, yes. They see what happened in Canada, like with the legalization, you have 30% less of young people who drink alcohol.
True.
Yes.
Because that's, of course, special also in France, that the number of users and the use in total, it's above the European average. You are very high, maybe even the highest in Europe. So it's a spectacular fail of prohibition, you could say, here.
Yes, but I think the French government, with the prohibited law, also by the tranquility in the suburb. We have many problems with the ghetto in France from a long time. If they want to put out the cannabis, it will make a big problem.
Like if they would legalize the cannabis, or like...
No, they prefer to keep it illegal for this part of the people have an economy and have an end on these people, We let you make your black market, but we don't want trouble.
Okay, so it's
we see more like that. If you go in jail in France, you see that it's more easy to find weed or hash, mainly hash, in jail than outside, because all the guard don't want trouble.
Yeah.
So they let people smoke. It's a bit like that for the suburb in general. They
That's
let
interesting.
people smoke and deal and play with that. During this time, they are not doing bullshit in the big city or fight with the police.
And I would say, but correct me if I'm wrong, if you would be white and have money to buy hash, then you would go to the suburbs to buy it there from them, or
Yes, you are black or you are Moroccan or Algerian or white. All people go to the suburb buy.
Yeah.
People in Holland go to the coffee shop. In France, it's the same. You have also some who looks like coffee shop.
not? Okay.
The underground coffee shops.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
That's impressive. But and when did you start? It was you're really gonna be, if it's gonna be your life passion. When was that moment?
When I start now, when I made more and more travel around the world, and my passion about cannabis grow up in the same time. So all my travel will be some cannabis travel. And during one travel in 2009 in Northern California, I saw some people who was really passionate about the weed culture, and those people was living in total autonomy in the wood. Cannabis was the only way to get a bit of money during the year, like a seasonal crop, like people from the past.
Mm-hmm.
And living with this crop all the year. And during a year of travel around the world, I see many people who was living in autonomy, like in Africa, in Asia. And when I came back, I totally get out of the system. I not work anymore. I don't want to pay tax. I don't believe my government or listen my government. I take it my own way.
And you grow your own food.
I grow my own food. I grow my own weed. If I want everything we want, we grow it.
Yeah. You told us before when you showed us around the farm that it's a closed loop for your wheat, meaning that
Yes.
you don't even use nutrients that you like buy in maybe a grow shop or through the internet, but you make your own nutrients. I thought that was a fascinating part. Can you tell us a bit more about that? How you can get as far as that? Do you have to be like a big farmer and need a lot of space, or?
No. When I start in my family was making garden like every family over there, and I had already like the green hand or the green thumb, like you say.
Mm-hmm.
And with internet and weed growing, I read more and more book and had access to many new technique. And like all people, we heard about biodynamic, you know?
Tell us more.
It's like biodynamic. It's a way of growing that's really esoteric. Really esoteric. It's come from Germany. It's really old. It started with closed loop farming, as you don't need everything out of your farm to grow your own food and your own medicine, all what you need. It's one of the staple of the biodynamic.
Mm-hmm.
The other staple is more esoteric. You work with the energy.
Mm-hmm.
Energy of the sky, of the water, of everything. For me, it's a bit more esoteric. But the way of closed loops farming, to not use anything, just to have one or two animals to help you to have more diversity of nutrients for your food, really catch my intention.
Yeah.
So I work more and read more about organic farming and closed loop farming, how much land I was needing for my family, how much animal, And with a really little land, with a lot of work, you can provide easily all the food you need for your family, the weed, even more than you need, really easily. But it's take you.
Work.
It's a life.
Travail.
It's a life. You don't
Yeah.
talk about travail. It's more than travail. It's a work from every moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have people. Your garden is living. Your animal is living. It's not like a normal travail. You go out of 6 o'clock and you go back at home and you look TV. No, it's at 6 o'clock. I am free. I do what I want, but I wake up at 6 and I go. I still work at 10 o'clock in the night.
But the plants are your masters.
Yeah, it's not partners, not masters, partners with the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you follow.
I think it's like that, yeah. A partnership.
Yeah.
You want the plants to be happy, so that they give you what you want.
Nature don't have to be the master of everyone. She do the nature. She don't need everybody. You just have to take the train and follow the nature.
We saw that you were also growing some beautiful things outside. For the also people that are growing outside as well at their own garden, do you have some biological organic tips for them?
Yes, for sure. The main thing I would say it's start to make your own nutrients, like nettle. Everywhere you have nettle, everywhere you go 5 minutes in the wood, you will come back with a big tank of nettle. Put water in it, wait 1 month, and you will have the best nutrients for your plants.
Okay, that's also
boom.
wow.
Give us more. Give us more.
Yeah, and also, like we talk with Derek, if you live in the north like us, to grow light depth with light deprivation, it's easy.
We will explain it to the listeners who don't know what it is.
Yes.
If you have 12 hours dark for your plants in 24 hours, then after a while it starts flowering, no matter what the season is.
If you take your local, your normal indoor strain, 8 weeks of flowering, it will take 8 weeks of flowering outdoor, just to close your greenhouse for 12 hours of dark every night.
Yep. Or every night put your plants in your garden shed. What I do, I made it light proof. All the little cracks, I put a piece of paper in there and tape, so that they all fit in there, the plants. And then you get the same
Yes,
effect.
And also really easy. I saw many Dutch on Instagram who are making the plant kind of rolling, and they put it in the schroer.
Yeah.
And
That's the way,
they put it in the schroer. Or if you don't follow the Kroon on Instagram, he's the master grower with light depth.
Oh, it's a good tip.
Yeah, you have to go. He make just little cage over the plant and put a plastic or put the plant in the schroer, but really easy. And this guy grow also cup winning.
He's been on the cup.
He's a master.
Yeah, he's a very good.
Big shoot to the Kroon.
Well, yeah, for sure. But that's for winning a cup. I was also wondering, have you ever? What is your tactics? If you're talking about cannabis cups, what is your thought before going? Which kind of genetics?
So before enter the cannabis cup, we start to enter the cannabis cup 2 years ago, but it's about 8-10 years ago. We start to go in many cannabis cup. We can go as a visitor, so I can look what was going on. And the more flavorful your strain is, the better is for a cup. Like one thing I can say, the big tip I can say to you if you want to win a cup, if bring your orange strain.
And it's really not about the THC level.
No, it's
to
just
win.
about the look and the smell.
Yeah.
Judge don't care about the smoke. Second tips. People are don't dare to smoke, they are just there to look nice weed and smell good flowers.
Yeah, but I can
Because
rely on
most of the cup you have one day to smoke so many
flavors.
sample.
Yeah,
So the first point, as a judge, what I do, I smell all the bags, all the entries. Like 80% of the note is like about the smell and the bag appeal. And your plant have to have terpene, for sure.
yeah. A few years ago, it was really the year of the orange. I could say like a lot of orangey kind of tapes. Of
I like
flavors.
them too.
Yeah, they're super nice. But there was like the super orange glue or the blood orange tangy.
Remember that one?
That was also that was super nice. But I really noticed like a lot of years later the really Skittles terps are really making up it. Yeah, for the it's one of the most hard to beat flavors at this moment.
What I really think, also being a judge myself of multiple cups, is that if it's really something new, then
Yes,
it can
you
also
have-
score.
You
know?
need some exotism.
Yeah.
But orange, like you are talking about Z terps, you only go into the indica entries. But if you can have more flavorful orange entries for the hashish, for the extraction, for the sativa with the orange strain, more tasteful buds.
What I was wondering, you've talked about like making your own nutrients. I was also you were talking about making your own seeds. That is also very interesting if you're growing always outdoor. Can you maybe tell us more about that?
Yes, like I tell you, if you are an outdoor grower, it's not like growing indoor. If you are growing indoor, you will make the environment as the plant need it. But outdoor, you have to find a good genetic and to acclimate the genetic to your place. Like I said to all farmers, start to make your own seed. It will be really more easy for you. Like if you like a strain, you make a cross of the two strain you like, and for sure you will find some really nice plant who will work good in your environment. Like I started to make for myself the seed outdoor like 15 years ago, and directly in 1 year or two, I had really better result.
And you also explained, if you compare like the indica gene pool to the sativa one,
Yes.
that because the sativa one is larger, because it's been grown longer, you can say, that then you have a better chance at getting the combination that is really nicely adapted to your environment.
Yes. If you take most of the indica lines available in the market, this is EBL, like you know, inbreed line, and they are working for a long time, but maybe they are acclimate in their climate, like Hindu Kush mountain or Northern California, because in Northern California they working a lot to acclimate it.
Yeah.
But also with what I say to you, you have to make your own seed. All the modern weed start like with the skunk. Like what did the Northern Californian grower? They took the indica seeds they had from India or Afghanistan or Pakistan home to California with a veteran, people who was into war over there, but it was going into mold every year. So what they decide to cross it with available sativa seeds of the moment, like Mexican weed, Colombian weed, and the making up of skunk strain. It's Colombian weed crossed with Afghan.
Yep.
And they saw directly the potential of the hybridization, like seeing many phenotype was more adapted to their environment. And it's like do every farmer from a long time. If you want to have tomatoes, you have to acclimate tomatoes to your area. If you want weed, you have to acclimate weed to your area. And it go really fast, 1 or 2 years, and you have great result in your garden.
Is it also that's why, like a bag seed gives you sometimes the most brilliant phenotypes? What I heard, because it's such a new gene pool. Is that the bag seed so popular? Or
No, bag seeds is more a fashion to me. I not believe in bag seeds.
no?
No, for me, bag seed is hermaphrodite. So people who look for bag seeds, they look for clone only. So like they buy a cookie bag, and if they found a seed, it's a cookie seed. But most of the time, it's hermaphrodite seeds.
So it's less value than just regular seeds.
No, you cannot talk about value about the seeds.
Quality or
Yes, we are just like human. The cannabis was there before. It was there after us, for sure. We are just a step into the cannabis breeding. Plant will don't matter of what we do, but it will ending like that, I think.
yeah. That's so. The cannabis plant are just using us
I think
to survive.
Yeah, she mute more easy.
Yeah, that's for sure. And also talking about France, do you see, like, because of the CBD weed laying everywhere, like it's an easier way of normalization? You think like the step to THC weed in some stores or some places would be more talkable than ever before?
I believe so. What do every French smoker now? He go one time in the CBD shop to have the bag.
Yeah, of course. I was thinking the same.
And after he fill it with the normal weed.
Yep. It's a good cover.
Yeah.
Like Austria too, and Switzerland.
But is it helping?
Nobody smoke CBD openly.
It's not still accepted as cigarettes that they're smoking CBD weed at the station, or
No,
like nobody can say it's CBD weed or THC.
no.
No,
You
that-
will have trouble. At the end, no, but you can have trouble if you smoke a joint.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I'm always thinking like, how can they indeed control it? Or
No, and it's a bit tricky. You still have in France the law about 0.2 THC. So it's really low, really hard to breed plant that's so low. So many of the CBD in France is import from Italy or Switzerland, and he have more THC. So police still close CBD shop for that when they test the weed, and police still catch people driving with THC test who smoke CBD weed. So it's for that people don't want to smoke CBD legally, because there is a big chance
you get tested and you have still the remaining THC in your body.
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's still like the whole thing, like the whole testing is still fucked
Do
up.
you know how the way they find to be sure of the CBD level for importing in France? So now, the main CBD producer from Switzerland and Italy, they grow some 2 or 3, 4, 5% THC weed to have the terpene. And what they do, they wash the weed, the fresh weed, when they harvest, they wash it with CO2, like to make BHO, to put out some THC, and after they dry the weed and export to France. Like that, they control more the THC level.
Crazy.
Yes, but
But
it's so sad to wash weed with
BHO.
yeah,
Then people smoking it afterwards.
yeah, and smoke it, and especially in France, all the CBD business is based about bien-être, wellness.
Wellness, yeah.
And the weed is washed with CO2.
That's, but I was wondering, like with the whole CBD movement and your passion about growing, and your knowledge about flavors and all those kind of things and breeding, wouldn't it be a ideal match if you would try to breed the best CBD strain with the most flavors?
No, we still have no opportunity for French grower. It's allowed to sell in the CBD shop, some CBD or hemp weed. But if you go on to grow some hemp in France, don't care about CBD or hemp. If you want to grow cannabis in France, you must buy seed from certified seeds. It's about a list of 40 seeds they use for hemp.
Okay.
You are not allowed to grow other strain. People who grow in France at the moment, like you have about 20 cannabis farms in France who sell CBD. But CBD, not really CBD. What they do, they grow the classic hemp, French hemp, one called Diolsa 88. It's a plant who looks good for hemp. No terpene, no THC, but looks good. They all grow this one, and they import illegally some terpene and some CBD crystal from Switzerland, and they spray the hemp in.
Oh my God.
And it's the weed you find not in the CBD shop. It's the weed you find in normal tobacco shop in France. Like you have some weed, it's really some bullshit.
Yeah, it sounds even worse than I thought it would be. But yeah, that's incredible. That's really sad. I was wondering, like, excuse me for a second. But I was wondering for the future. It's also a very important thing. Besides the whole French movement, maybe like what is your personal mission, or what are you aiming for in the future?
I want to run a cannabis farm and find a way to run it more legally. So we look for opportunity in other countries to develop more our brand and our passion. Especially, I am a father, and I would, as all farmer, I would love to see my son farm the same things as me. So I want a brighter place than the politician problem we live there. So I hope for Holland is going for a new way. I heard about they want to go more into legally production. So maybe there we hope a lot for Spain also.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, for Holland, it's also gonna be very exciting times.
Yes.
And I hope like one party will definitely get in touch with you to make sure you maybe
Yeah,
have
I'm sure. I hope so.
or
And maybe Luxembourg.
No, Luxembourg is too close. I have some friend in Luxembourg. Like it's 6 months in Luxembourg. It's legal in Luxembourg. It's legal in Luxembourg to smoke weed now and to buy.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's 6 months. It's impossible. It's not available in the dispensary. The weed. You have only 14 places who are allowed, 14 location, and only 4 got the right to open shop. It's really little shop with really little amount of product.
Okay.
And they still not find the way, the politician, to fix the way of how provide the weed to the dispensary. So they made a law. Only 2 farm will be allowed in all Luxembourg to grow, and the license was already given. I don't remember exactly who, but it's commercial.
bullshit.
Yes, corporations.
Oh yeah.
So you have the highest hopes, say, for legalization for the Netherlands, for Spain?
As grower, I hope a lot for Netherlands. For what I do, as I make seed and high grade selection, I have not my place in France. People in the black market don't really interest about high grade genetic. They prefer low price weed or hashish. But in Holland, the price of the weed is going up and up and up. I've been last month for present my weed in Netherlands to many spots. I saw the weed was really expensive, and people got a lot of interest with import weed from California, like 30-40 euro for total bullshit.
Per gram, eh?
Yeah, a gram, like a
Wow.
gram, 40 euro.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, you can go to restaurant, buy a gram of weed, buy a bottle of alcohol, everything for 40 euro, but they prefer to buy a 40 euro gram. It's quite sad about the quality of the coffee shop in general. So I think with my product, it can go good.
I think it's just the lack of I think just the available spaces and time from the USA to get those expansional kind of flavors and kind of genetics, and it's just all the risk and all the things that it comes finally from the US to here. So I understand a little bit why it's so expensive, although I would never expect people to really buy it. That's the second thing, because I also think like local grown cannabis has so much more a better after feeling, I have to say, and it's more gently. But yeah, like it's like I think we now have to fight them back with their own genetics and show them how good the quality of growers we have here in Europe.
Yes, but and why I want to advise people, like I am an organic farmer and I use European genetic as American genetics. American genetics are really good. They know how to do seeds and weeds. They know a lot. But when you smoke your import bags, you don't smoke Cali weeds. You smoke the most fake commercial growing weed you can imagine. If you really don't support the good market, most of the weed you have in your bag is grown with PGR.
What's that again?
Yes, PGR. It's mostly some hormone you give to the plant, and I want to say to people, most of the product they use on this weed, on the you import Cali weed, products are not allowed to use on food anymore. Everywhere in the world, mostly, just in Mexico or USA, things like that. But it's like hormone you put to have more, to make easy, more beautiful bud and more just more beautiful most of the time. Because as you see, when you crack a bud, for example, you crack a bud from a Cali bag, you don't have branch. You all have the same buds in the bag. Don't you can open 20 bags, you will have the same buds in the 20 bags. Just look the weed you grow, it's not look like that. It's like the tomatoes or the potatoes you grow in your garden. They are not beautiful, but they are far better. far better.
Yeah, 100%. I can.
Yeah.
And there's also, of course, the parallel with the supermarkets, especially in Holland, where they want like very shiny, dark-colored
Yes.
vegetables,
It's
totally
like
round.
the vegetable from Albertine. When
Yeah.
you buy weed, you buy the cheap vegetable, really colorful from Albertine. Nothing to compare than your farmer market.
Yeah, I can. It is totally true. But
Weed
it's hard.
It should be organic.
But I was always thinking like those nugs of those Cali bags were looking like that because they were vacuumed and they had to travel.
No.
And
The
also,
plant look like that.
yeah.
It's totally crazy. They do.
And but also I thought like PGR, like plant growth stimulators,
Yeah.
are also like just the nutrients or extra feeding you
They
give.
have many tips. Many. You cannot believe. I don't know enough. I have just an organic farmer. But if you make more research about that and all the possibility about gibberellin and things like that, they go so far with the vegetable. They do the same with the weed. It's the new gold. It's the green gold. And when you buy like 80% of the Cali market and USA market, it's total bullshit. If you not support a little farm, you support bullshit. And the worst, when you buy this fucking Cali bag, you fuck your local farmer. Like you are in a coffee shop, when you buy weed, you normally in a coffee shop, farmer family live from the weed you buy to the coffee shop, really close to the coffee shop. If you buy this fucking Cali bag, it's so expensive when it's arrive in UK because it comes from through UK like 10 time on time. So you fuck your local market and you fucked pioneer market from Northern California. People who work really good in Northern California, now they cannot sell their product. People just want this shitty bag, shitty looking bud.
Yeah, but
It's a big problem for the industry.
How do you think we can solve it?
Just support your local grower. Go to Last Dutch, go for your coffee shop, and don't buy the Cali menu. It's almost too expensive. And ask to your bud tender where come from your weed.
Yeah.
First thing.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
mostly they can't say, or they say out of the heaven, out of the falls. From
Yeah, but if you come there
Yes,
often,
but
you
if
know.
all people ask,
Yeah.
they will see the interest.
That's
Oh,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the interest. I saw a nice coffee shop in Maastricht, Club 69. He already put the name of the grower when he know the name of the grower.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
yeah,
true, Rens.
Yeah, I'm a
You've
big.
been there.
I'm a big fan of
Yeah.
them. I support them as most as I can, because I think that's also like I love to talk about them because they're like one of the few coffee shops that is very active and really getting the quality instead of quantity.
Yeah.
Like they had a big problem in Maastricht with the weed pass or like the foreigner ban. So they really had to focus on the local customers, and they could only get them with the best quality, and that's where they really went for it. And they also went for specific genetics and from like local farmers as well. Like in Maastricht, Karma Genetics is also there.
Limburg is always been the place. South of Holland always been the place for good grower.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Like the first time I was there, and I'm still coming there now more than ever. And I'm really I'm flattered that I met them, because they have big passion and they are doing such good for the cannabis industry. And they're local, act global.
Yeah, support people like
think
that.
global,
Go to Maastricht
act
and
local.
buy weed.
Yeah,
As French we can't anymore.
No, so it's sadly we're now promoting a coffee shop that you're not allowed to visit if you're a foreigner listener. But once that weed pass gets removed, you should definitely visit it.
Yeah, and buy local weed.
Yeah, but
anywhere where you are.
Yeah.
Just watch out for the police
Yeah.
if you're in other countries. But I was also like wondering, the France are famous of their wine and their good taste and all those kind of things. Would you think like if the France would ever legalize, it would be as much as famous as the wine culture over here?
Yes, because we have a knowledge about terpene. We are quite exigent. No, it's not English.
I don't know.
We want the best. We always want the best. So yes, we can make some good weed as we make some really good vegetable.
And the environment, the nature.
Yes, we have really different environments in France. So you have many different terroirs. If you come to smoke my weed up in the north in France, it will not taste as the same as the weed in the south.
Oh.
So you see.
That's what the future could be, of course. If you could do it legal, it'd be fantastic.
Yes, we hope so.
Yep.
Which part of France is like the best place, or are you keeping that for yourself?
If I want to, if I will go,
It depends
for
what you want, I think.
In France, I will go for Côte d'Azur. I will go to Nice.
Okay.
If you know some grower from there, you know the weed is. They have
down in the south.
They have a sun all the years.
Mm.
Yeah, well, we just have the pleasure that just to feel this France environment and nature, and it's just been like an absolutely awesome weekend with lovely sun, and we've seen the nature and like
earlier today we had a breakfast at a really nice waterfall, just a totally natural spot, only with a few wooden tables around for people to sit and maybe have their lunch and smoke some weed.
We took a dip.
Yeah,
totally. We dived in all the way.
Was a little bit cold.
Fresh
we are
water.
really close of nature.
Yeah,
we love nature. We
yeah.
love water. We love the wood. We love the grass. We love the weed.
It's passionful. That's what I really notice.
One more question I would like to ask about the future. You have some people saying, well, legalization is inevitable. It will come now that the Americans are basically legalizing. The rest of the world will follow. And then in a few years, when it's legal in most countries, the production will go around the equator, just to the hot countries where they have the most sun and where it's like easiest and cheapest to grow a lot of outdoor
like in
weeds.
The colony.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
Or that could be one scenario, or another scenario could be people are really adapting, indeed, to their circumstances and growing basically everywhere. What do you think the future will bring?
No, I think the future is worse than what you say. What they create with the cannabis industry, they create a new industry. Like the first thing, Scott, you know the company Scott?
No,
Yeah.
no.
It's
Miracle Grow.
yeah. They when they legalized in Colorado,
It's an American company basically making a lot of nutrients, I think.
they own
Originally.
80% of the big farm in
Yeah.
all America and South America, like the Nutrients Company, some huge corporation.
Mm.
And when they legalized in Colorado, the first things they do, this company, they buy Gavita, they buy Philips horticulture, and they bought mainly all nutrients company from the world for the weed. Like my good friend, some French, some pioneer people at General Hydroponic. You know this brand? It's a brand that was created by a French guy during the 70s in USA. After he been 30 years of jail in USA, he get out in the 2000 and he get back his company, General Hydroponic, but his partners wanted to sell, and he must sell, you know, with the USA law, and they sell to Scott, and Scott they buy General Hydroponic, but don't want GHE, General Hydroponic Europe. So now they must turn the name to Terra Aquatica. If you want to support a good nutrient brands, go to check Terra Aquatica. It's pioneer in the hydroponic nutrients and system, and now it's owned by Scott. So, the industry, the economy need not only the weed, they need all the industry and to go into bourse. You know what is the bourse in English?
Oh, like the stock market.
Yes,
Yeah.
to go into the stock market, it's not only the weed who go into the stock market. It's all the industry. They need to have a powerful industry. So they win more money to sell lamp, to sell nutrients, than to sell weed or seed. You just have to see the actual farmer market. They prefer to sell nutrients and pesticide.
Yeah.
They don't care about the product at the end. It's the industry who is important, the stock market. So the future of cannabis is more into things like that, I think. Not growing into Equator or things like that. You see how big and how fast are going the creation of farm in northern of England or Denmark lately. They made two huge greenhouse with lamp and things to grow weed for the pharmaceutical market.
You think more of that in the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
They put farm where they can put farm where they want, and the climate is changing a lot. So it's more easy for them to do inside the weed.
and for me, the last question: how did you came up with your name and your whole organic style of branding it?
I wanted the name La Chanvriere is come from chanvre is hemp, is in French. As for me, hemp is the plant. Perhaps if it has THC or not, or see we are growing just a hemp plant.
Yeah.
So La Chanvriere is the name of our farm, and our style of life is really, we don't use pesticide. We only eat organic. We are really close of the nature. For us, it was sure we wanted to make an all organic product, and the branding, everything, we wanted to be close of the French tradition about, like you say, the vine, to touch more a connoisseur public.
Pure.
Yeah, people who want to get more exotic and particular and authentic smoke, should smoke my product.
Yeah, I can definitely say that's right because I'm still smoking the Sunsets, and it's
What a great strain.
and it doesn't kick you.
And I see
To the
your
face.
eyes. You have not eyes like that when you smoke a Cali weed. It's for that.
I can't even speak well, not that perfectly, but still a little bit English.
And
So
one thing I want
I've
to.
been worse.
One thing I want to say now, if you want to sell the weed, weed is not like your time, Derek. It's not like you not sell weed in a plastic bag or in a newspaper.
Yep.
If you want to sell weed, you have to have a minimum of packaging. And I want to show to people when you buy Cali weed or most of the bag of weed, it's plastic. All our jar or thing like that, all is compostable or recyclable. You don't imagine how much plastic the cannabis industry can eat every day.
Yeah.
It's true.
You just have to go in the front of a coffee shop and see how much plastic bag there is 100 meters around.
Yeah, that's true. Like,
So,
Changing slowly though.
yes,
Where before, like all the coins, if you buy the pre-rolled joints, were all plastic.
Yes.
Now I see most of them basically being like cardboard. You know.
Yes,
Yeah,
or
also
changing
go with your
slowly.
own jar to the coffee shop and say you
Yeah.
don't want the plastic
Yeah.
bag.
I think that's a super good.
Personally,
concept.
the weed I smoke usually don't touch plastic.
Yeah, and that's the better. Like it's like a sponge. That could be maybe like a good thing for the VOC, like to promote to bring your own jar to the coffee shop.
Yes, like all shop, like the fancy shop. Now it's all about recycling. You bring your own bag. Even in the supermarket, they don't give you bag.
Yeah.
Even in the bars, it's not allowed to give you a tube in plastic. Why this fucking cannabis industry don't want to stop this plastic?
I think
I
that's a
don't
very
understand.
good thing.
I don't understand. I am close of EP and organic. Maybe it's for that, but
Well, I think it's just lovely to have you on the show and just to share your opinions with us.
And let's hope a few coffee shop owners are listening in,
yes,
taking notes.
And yeah, for sure. I think it's time to go to our next segment from the archive.
Yeah, for today's episode, I brought this little American book from my cannabis library called Toking Women, a 4,000-year history of women and marijuana. That was written by Nola Evangelista and published in 2015. I actually bought it directly from the author. Her real name is not Nola Evangelista, but Ellen Komp, a long-time cannabis activist in California, who's been active, I think, over 30 years there. A wonderful book in which she profiles 50 women connected to cannabis through the ages, from ancient goddesses to pop stars and actresses of our time. And the chapters are really nice with good illustrations and photos there. And the one I picked out of the 50 is the chapter about Parvati. I don't know if the name is familiar for any of our listeners.
Not me. Do I need to ring the bell, or are you?
No, you know everything about Parvati after I read the little chapter here.
Okay.
Legend has it that the goddess Parvati, a wife of the Hindu god Lord Shiva, brought cannabis to humankind. It seems Shiva was busy frolicking on the mountain tops with various nymphs when Parvati, left alone at home, discovered a cannabis plant growing in her garden. When Shiva returned to her, Parvati put some of the plant into a pipe for him to smoke. He did, and thereafter the two invented tantric yoga and saved their marriage. Rather like the Adam and Eve story, here it is the woman who discovers the magical plant, which is forbidden in the Bible, what Timothy Leary called the first controlled substance. Parvati is the Hindu mother goddess of love, fertility, and devotion. Along with Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, and Saraswati, the goddess of learning and knowledge, she forms the trinity of Hindu goddesses. Two of her forms are Durga, the goddess beyond reach, and Kali, the goddess of destruction. She is the mother of Ganesha. And to this day, worshippers in India drink bhang, the cannabis yoga drink, during the Shivatri festival, celebrating the marriage of Shiva and Parvati. Women in particular practice devotions during this time. Parvati is believed to be sister to the goddess Ganja, the personification of the sacred river Ganges, and the term for cannabis leaves and flowers that are smoked. Bhang and Ganja are said to reside side by side on Shiva's head, while he dances on the body of a dwarf who embodies indifference, ignorance, and laziness. Well, how about that,
That's nice, Derek.
dear
Super.
listeners?
All right.
That's Parvati for you.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Yeah.
Normally, we would have gone. We would have went to the listeners' request of listeners' responses, but because we're on the summer tour, we have no new requests or questions. So that's also a request or a thing to all our listeners. If you have any good question or advice or a good
Suggestion for a guest?
exactly, send us an email or give us a DM on Instagram. Our email address is info at HighTeaPotcast with a T.nl or HighTeaPotcast with a T at gmail.com. And we always have super nice presents.
Yeah, and I give a pack of cell to the best question.
Ooh.
A pack of seeds.
Oh, nice. That's
How's about that? So that's an extra reason, I would say, to
Yeah. So send us a nice comment, and we will pick the best one for our responses. So that brings us to our last. I say that also.
our last segment, I would
our
say.
last segment.
Yeah, yeah.
I was okay. This the sunset is still a little bit stronger than I was expecting, but yeah, let's go to our last segment.
Wijze woorden.
Yeah, the wise woorden or wise words section. I use my little red book that I've been using now for, I think, 18 years. If I come across a real nice quotation from the past or from the recent time, I write it down in this little red book. So I have a lot of wise words collected since 2003. And I picked a few from the American writer Henry Miller, who lived from 1891 to 1980. And it's a very short quote, so listen carefully. One's destination is never a place, but rather a new way of looking at things. I come again once more. Why not?
That's super short.
One's destination is never a place, but rather a new way of looking at things. Yeah, I think that's a lot of wisdom. And
Yeah, it's always a story about way.
uh-huh.
You know, like they say, the destination is not important. It's a new way.
Yep. How
It's
you get there.
important.
Yep, and how you look at it also. Your state of mind.
Yeah, it's the same when you for growing. It's not to make a good weed or good vegetable. It's how much you will learn during the way of your way of gardener, of farmer.
Yep.
That's super nice. I think that's super nice words also to close this podcast off. I think we had a really nice time.
The French special 45.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you so much. I want to thank Derek with his wise words to end this episode, and also I want to thank our sponsor, Dutch Passion.
Yes, thank you a lot.
And they're like one of the oldest cannabis seed banks on this planet, offering a wide range of original classic strains as well as great new ones available at dutchpassion.com. And I want to thank as well our guest, La Chanvriere.
And host, of course, here.
And host, for this awesome weekend.
Yes, thank you too to be there. It's always a pleasure to have you there.
Showing us the terroir.
You, yes, and
having
thank
us
you for
taste
the
it.
podcast.
Always.
Yeah.
So everyone, like, share, and please promote our
Subscribe.
podcast. Subscribe, send us a message, and we hope to see you next time
Yes,
again.
show some love.
All right, see you other
Merci
time.
bien, everybody.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
À tout à
Houdoe.
l'heure. Bye bye.